If I was running a radio network, and I'm going to talk specifically of radio because that's more my MO than television, and you've said that it didn't really float your boat, what you were doing on whichever it was, the hits or more of them or whatever you're doing, as much as it
Yes.
could have been. If
Yep.
someone came to you, a little bit like what they've done at Today FM, and with a blank
Yes.
sheet and went, whatever you want, Jace, however long you want to do a show, however you want to run it, we will do it. What would you want to do? And just
Great
remember,
point.
I'm sure all the programmers will hear this, and you might get emails later in the week. But in
Yeah, no,
seriousness,
that's a great point.
how would you do? How would you do radio? You know, as how would you do JCFM? What would it sound like and feel like?
Well, for starters, I wouldn't be arrogant enough to base myself in one place, because that's
Right.
not right. There's that. So, and it couldn't all be about me. I'd need to find the people I've always wanted to work with and go, A, B, C, D, E. Let's have some conversations. P.S. We can't all be in the same room, because that's just like, and P.S. we don't need to be. It's called Zoom. It's called radio. We don't need to anymore. As well as that, the Guns recently, the family took a road trip in a camper van, right? And I loved it because we just went down the South Island of New Zealand, the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. No 2 days were the same. I've never heard more amazing stories in my life from real New Zealanders. I stopped for a coffee in a place called Bruce Bay, where the woman said, "No one stops for coffee here." I went, "Well, that's a shame." And I heard her story about the muffins she makes every morning that don't get sold, but I bought some anyway. And what I loved is I thought that's what radio needs to be. Get out there, meet the people. Thing I love about New Zealand, we are a country of amazing storytellers. And we're not out there doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And also what I would really want it to be, TV1 has that little slice called Good Sorts. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's kind of works for me. I once heard this thing once, that the news is a show where someone says good evening and then spends 60 minutes telling you why in fact it's not a good evening. So my thing would be, I'm not being all cheesy here. There's so much good going on in the world right now. You know, how much of the bad shit do I actually need to know? I'm not being naive, but if you give it to me and you tell me all this shit and you put a Mike Hosking twist on it, or that sort of ZB twist, it's like, well, I dare you to ask yourself, but you won't, because you're trying to be a little bit, a bit edgy, aren't you? I dare you to ask, how does me telling you this affect you? Does it keep you awake at night? Does it make you worry? In which case, piss off. What good does that do, people? I don't understand. It's like, do I need to know this? And if I do, can you tell it to me in a way that's like, okay, I'm better informed. I have an understanding of it. Or I could just be an ass and try and pick holes in people. It's like, it's not really helping. So I have many questions of many people. I'd like to get people on. I'd like to, kill them with kindness. Certainly, there's enough ugly shit out there, so I'd want to keep it good. I'm not going to get all preachy on it. Don't get me wrong. There's some other questions that need to be asked. There'd be plenty of lightness, right? I mean, we've got but good storytellers, they're out there everywhere. My wife's in hospital. Every day I find someone who makes me laugh somewhere in a corridor in that hospital. Someone tells me a story and we laugh out loud. And I just want to go, if I had a camera, I'd film you now and I'd let New Zealand meet you, because they deserve to. You need to be on the television. So, long answer, sorry, to a simple question, but I guess it would involve a lot of New Zealanders. I'd like to be the enabler. I'd like to bring people from around New Zealand onto the show, almost a talent quest, but the talent is their stories.
So when you get the call from all these programmers offering you this exact thing, I just would like I think a 5% gratuity would be fair. I'm just putting it out there. I think
that is fair, and potentially naming rights. I think we need to throw that in there too. I just
JCFM. You mean call it JCFM?
Yeah, I honestly think. I mean, you should say to me, Jace, you need to get the Department of Conversation, and that you need to get it into every show. It has to just fall out of your mouth. So we'll do it.
The other thing I was going to say about that whole news story you just gave, the analogy, is they say good evening, then they tell you how it's not being good, but how they should finish it every night is, and that's how 10 New Zealanders lived. The other 4.999 million had a lovely day. You know what I mean?
That is so true, dude, isn't it?